Hello everybody, how's it going? In today's video, I am going to be filming a tier list video. This one's going to be survivors based upon their perks. This is actually the second time I'm filming this because I accidentally deleted the video files because I'm an idiot. Okay, without further ado, let's jump straight into it. We've got Ace up first. So before we judge all these survivors, okay, I am going to be doing this with an open mind, thinking about new players to Dead by Daylight and also highly skilled Dead by Daylight players. Okay, so looking at his perks, most of his perks are based upon luck and kind of aura reading, and I just don't really rate any of his perks whatsoever. You don't really see any of his perks in any builds at all. For that very reason, I'm going to be placing Ace in at D tier. I don't really think his perks are very good at all. Follow up from that, we next have Adam. Adam comes with 3 perks: Diversion, Deliverance, and Autodidact. Now, Diversion is quite a fun perk to use in a meme build. However, you won't be using that perk really with any other intent other than that. Deliverance is a perk that I see quite, it's a split decision. A lot of people like this perk. I personally don't really use it. I think it looks better than what it is because you can only unhook yourself on the first hook. It does come in play and cause some really cool gameplay experiences. But that's usually quite rare. Then we've got Autodidact, which isn't really that good either. It's basically kind of slowing you down and then giving you more healing speed. Adam's perks, I am going to put Adam down into the C tier list. His perks aren't really that good. Next up we have Ash. Ash's perks are Flip Flop, Buckle Up, and Metal of Man. Now, Metal of Man actually used to be really good before it got changed. It was a bit too OP, but it's still an alright perk. Flip Flop is a great perk in certain perk builds, but you won't really be running this on its own, so we do have to consider that. Buckle Up, no one really uses, to be honest, so I'm going to put Ash and his perks. I'm going to put him into C. I think C is a good location for his perks. Next up, we've got the good old Left 4 Dead Bill. So Bill has Left Behind, Borrowed Time, and Unbreakable. Left Behind is quite a niche perk, but it is pretty decent if you are playing on solo. Borrowed Time is a great perk. You'll be seeing that used by a lot of survivors from all skill set levels. It is a very good team play perk, one that I use a lot and I see a lot of people using as well. And then Unbreakable, I don't use Unbreakable that much, but it is a very good perk. Because it works well in other builds and it's fantastic on its own. And I think Bill has a load of good perks, fantastic no matter what skill set you are, and so I think that build deserves a place on the S tier list. I think that's very, very good. Then we have Claudette. Now Claudette, this is going to be a really debatable one, okay? So this is going to be difficult. Okay, so if you're new to Dead by Daylight, you're going to be loving Self-Care to pieces. You love it, okay? Now, the only downside with this is that I think that it does quite often call for selfish gameplay. And so, like, there's been numerous scenarios where someone's on the hook and the person's self-caring and then they don't end up actually getting them. You have to remember that with self-care, it's like the least efficient way of healing because it takes so long. But I find a lot of people become so distracted on self-caring and, you know, teammates can't heal you if you're self-caring. So they don't get any points from it. Self-care is a very nice thing though if you are new to the game. So this one is like by far probably going to be the most debatable character in terms of her perks here. Empathy is a pretty decent perk. It's good for information. You can see where people are all the time and as long as they're injured and get heals from them, etc. Botany knowledge, not really great at all. This one's going to be really difficult. I'm going to put her at A. It's a tough one, but I think low A is where I'm going to put her. Next up, we've got David. David has We're Gonna Live Forever, Dead Hard, and No Mither. No Mither is pretty much pointless, so don't ever run that perk. We're Gonna Live Forever is fantastic at getting points for playing Survivor. Dead Hard used to be amazingly great. Now it's like good. But the reason why it's not as good as it used to be is because of like the whole dedicated servers, kind of like hitbox lag sort of stuff. But you can still use it to get to pallets and windows, etc. So it is still good. But I'm going to put David's perks in at A tier. I think his perks are pretty decent. Next up, we have Dwight. I love Dwight to pieces, but I'm not a big fan of his perks. So Bond is useful at finding out where your teammates are. Prove thyself. It's great if you want to like be a gen jockey and just smash out gens, but this perk is not really that good if you're in a solo queue. If you're playing solo queue and you're not repairing generators with teammates, it's pretty much pointless, this perk. You do get the blood point bonus, but in my opinion, I'd rather just run We're Gonna Live Forever. You're gonna get more use out of it. That perk is decent as Survivor Friends, but you have to be in a Survivor Friends to get like the maximum use out of it. And then Leader, I don't find Leader that great, to be honest. I just find that there's better perks to use, to be honest. I'm gonna put him in B. His perks are okay. Then we have Feng, and I think Feng is a fantastic character, especially if you're new to Dead by Daylight. So with Feng, she comes with Technician, Life, and Alert. Now, Technician is a fantastic perk if you're new to Dead by Daylight. Then Life, people say they don't have as much control over it because whenever you fast forward something, it goes off. But I think if you're smart with looping, you're going to be seeing a lot more use out of it, and it is pretty decent, especially with certain perk builds. So I think Life deserves a bit more credit than what they give it. Then we have Alert, which is a pretty decent perk all around, really, because whenever a killer breaks anything, you see the aura. So I'm going to be putting Feng in at A. If it was for new players for Dead by Daylight, she'd definitely been S tier. She's an A just because of the Technician. You're only going to be using that if you're new to Dead by Daylight. Following on from that, we have Jake. Now, Jake has Iron Will, which I think by far, and a lot of people will agree, is the best perk in the game. Like, it is so vital. It actually allows you to play the game injured, whereas you can't really play the game injured if you don't have Iron Will. Calm Spirit, which is personally, I think it's a niche perk. Like, it counters Doctor, and I'm pretty sure it counters Infectious Fright. But the whole Crow thing, killers don't rely on crows. They don't do an awful lot, to be honest. And then Saboteur. With Saboteur, I'd rather use a toolbox because I can sabotage more hooks, and I don't have the cooldown. So with all that in mind, I'm going to put Jake in at B tier. Low B, maybe C. Then we have Jane. Jane has Solidarity, Poised, and Head On. Now, Head On is a really fun perk. However, if you want to like genuinely survive, you're not going to be running that perk. Poised, you don't really ever see. It's not really that good. Solidarity, which essentially allows you to heal yourself while healing a teammate. It's okay, but again, it only does like 50% conversion rate. So with that in mind, I'm going to put Jane. I'm going to put Jane at C tier. I think Head On is great if you want to have a bit of fun. Other than that, it's not that great. Next up, we have Jeff. Jeff has Breakdown, Aftercare, and Distortion. Breakdown, you're only going to be running Breakdown in specific perk build. Other than that, you won't really be running that solo or on its own. Aftercare, I never see anybody running. It's just not really that great of a perk. And then Distortion. I think Distortion is all right, actually. I think that it gives you information. It hides your aura and scratch marks. So if a killer has barbecue, they won't see where you are. His other perks, though, aren't really that great. So I'm going to be putting Jeff's perks down at C tier. Then we have Kate. I think Kate has some brilliant perks if you're brand new to Dead by Daylight. Dance for me, I do rate. Windows of Opportunity is incredible. It is a great perk if you're brand new to Dead by Daylight because you won't know any of the maps and it shows you windows and pallets and essentially safe zone. Boil Over, you won't really run this on its own, but it is good in certain perk builds. This is a tough one, but I'm going to put her in A. I think she's got some pretty good perks. Next up, we have Laurie. Laurie has Soul Survivor, Object of Obsession, and Decisive Strike. Soul Survivor, I never see anywhere. It's just not a great perk, to be honest, in general. Object of Obsession is a good perk. However, I think that this perk is only good if you are very confident at Dead by Daylight and you're good at chases and looping, etc. If you are not so much, then you're kind of asking for trouble. Decisive Strike is a very common perk. You'll see this run in a lot of meta builds. It is a great anti-tunnel perk. It is just pretty much a good perk all round, and so you'll be seeing that a lot everywhere. All skill sets will be using Decisive Strike, also known as D Strike. So if you ever hear me say that, that is what I mean. I'm going to be placing Laurie into the A tier list. Next up, we have Meg. And I think Meg, no joke, and I think a lot of people will agree with me on this one, has the best perks of any survivor can offer for teachables. Adrenaline to some is the best perk in the game. I wouldn't say it's the best perk in the game. It's very, very good. You see it a lot in everyone's builds. Sprint Burst is a fantastic exhaustion perk, no matter what skill set you're in. If you are new to Dead by Daylight and you are using Sprint Burst, you can 99 it, which is basically like running around with the exhaustion just about to finish. And then you can, when you're in a chase, you can reset that and run again, which is how you use it efficiently. And then Quick and Quiet, I think Quick and Quiet deserves more credit than it gives. I think it is a good perk. No matter what skill set you're in, new or experienced, you're going to be using her perks regardless. And I think she definitely deserves a spot in the S tier. Following on from that, we then have Nancy. Nancy has Better Together, Fixated, and Inner Strength. Okay, so better together. You basically tell people where the gen that you're doing is, which isn't that great. Fixated, only new players are going to be using this, to be honest. When you're new to Dead by Daylight, understanding scratch marks. Within the first few hours, you'll understand the whole scratch mark mechanic. You know, it's not very difficult. When you run, you make scratch marks, you know, and they last for a few seconds. I mean, there's not much more to it. If you don't understand that, then I'd be a bit worried. And then we have inner strength. So essentially, if you're injured and you cleanse a totem and you hide in a locker, you heal. If your teammates are cleansing totems, that kind of takes away your perk a little bit. So I do feel that when you run inner strength, you become a bit too distracted on cleansing totems when you're injured. But I'm going to put Nancy down in toward the D tier, just because we have to remember about both sides, experienced and non-experienced. Experienced survivors won't be using pretty much almost any other perks. And then next up we have Nia. Nia has balanced landing, urban evasion, and streetwise. So here we have balanced landing. Now I don't think balanced landing is really that good at all. You have to remember, to use this perk efficiently, you have to have incredible map knowledge. So in chases, you need to be thinking, right, where can I get height so I can fall to use this perk? Urban evasion is a good perk. It is a good perk. It does counter hag, etc. If you're looking to survive more, urban is a good perk because it does make you immersed. However, immersion does come with its drawbacks. There's many moments where you need to break out of immersion and you need to go for a save, etc. And if you're just constantly being really slow stealth mode all game, that will mess your team up a lot. You won't be progressing the game when you could be pushing a generator that slows you down so much, and it makes the game longer than it needs to be. Streetwise, it just isn't really that good. You're not going to be using that really at all. It just basically slows down consumption rates on your items. I think now Nia and her perks deserve kind of the B tier list. And then we have Quinton. Quinton has Wake Up, Pharmacy, and Vigil. Wake Up shows you where exit gates are. It's not worth having a perk for that, so you're not going to be using that. Pharmacy, which allows you to have a med kit upon your searching a chest and allows you to do it a bit quicker, etc. Just bring a med kit. Vigil is okay if you are the chaser or runner type survivor. However, if you're not that type of player, it's not really worth running. Quinton and his perks down into the D tier list. I don't think they're that good. And then after that, we have Steve. Steve has Babysitter, Camaraderie, and Second Wind. I'm not going to lie, I've never seen anybody run Second Wind or Babysitter. The thing is with Steve's perks, they're extremely situational, right? And like, they're very rarely are you in these specific scenarios where these perks will come in useful. Unfortunately, I love you, Steve, but your perks are pretty bad. And then after Steve, we have Tap. Tap has Tenacity, Detective's Hunch, and Stakeout. Now, Tenacity is only really good if you run it in a perk build. You won't really run this cases like on its own. And then we have Detective's Hunch. Shows you like generators, chests, and totems, etc. Once the generator is completed, not that great. And then we have Stakeout, which just is pretty shockingly bad, to be honest. I'm going to put Tap's perks in at C. Then we have Yui. Yui has Lucky Break, Enemies Necessary, and Breakout. Lucky Break, you just don't leave any trails of blood for like 180 seconds when you're injured. It's just not that good, unfortunately. Enemies Necessary sounds fantastic, okay? It sounds great. The best cooldown it has is 2 minutes. The problem with this perk is once the killer knows you have this perk, they will break every pallet. They won't leave them down. So it kind of makes that perk a little bit useless. Breakout is pretty alright. In certain perk builds, you won't really be running that on its own. With the Enemies Necessary, this could work great if you're new to Dead by Daylight, because they might not know about the kick in the pallets all the time. I'm going to put Yui in at the middle tier, B. And then we have Zarina, who has Off the Record, Red Herring, and For the People. And that Off the Record is just kind of like a worse iron will when you get off the hook. Red Herring, which is a fun meme perk, but other than that, you won't really be using that. And then For the People, now For the People has a very good potential of like being like an insane perk, but it's very situational. You won't find yourself using this perk that often. So with Zarina and her perks, I'm going to be placing Zarina in at C tier. And so that is my tier list for the survivors based upon their perks and how useful they will be toward you for whether you're new to Dead by Daylight or experienced. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know if you agree or disagree on any of these. And also be sure to join our Discord because I like to play Dead by Daylight with all of our community. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.